Title: He Heard a Cry in the Woods and Found a Miracle. Section 1. The Cry That Changed Everything. Opening hook. 30 seconds of emotional power. Narrator: soft, heartfelt tone. He wasn't supposed to be there. Not that day. Not in those woods. But sometimes fate has other plans. Deep in the quiet of the forest, where the only sounds were rustling leaves and distant birdsong, he heard it. A faint, desperate cry. And what he found next would change his life forever. Jake Reynolds wasn't the kind of man who strayed far from routine. Every Saturday morning, he jogged along the river trail that curled around the town's edge. It was safe, predictable, easy, but that morning felt different. The sky was heavier, the clouds low and brooding. And instead of turning right at the old oak tree like he always did, something pulled him left, into the dense thicket of the forest. "Don't know why I'm doing this," Jake muttered, brushing aside low-hanging branches. He wasn't the adventurous type. After all, it had only been 6 months since he'd lost his wife, Emily. The grief still clung to him like fog, thick and unrelenting. Running had become his therapy, a place to breathe, to move, to feel something other than sorrow. But that morning, it was like Emily's voice whispered on the wind, nudging him toward the unknown. Minutes passed. Twigs cracked underfoot. The forest grew thicker. Then he stopped. There it was. A sound. Not the rustle of wildlife. Not the hum of insects. A cry. High-pitched. Weak. Almost human. Jake froze. "Hello," he called out. Silence. Then again the cry. Fragile. Muffled. He pushed forward, heart pounding. Briars scraped at his legs, but he didn't care. The cry was louder now, urgent. He stumbled down a slight slope, slid on damp moss, and landed hard on his side. "Ugh!" he groaned, brushing dirt from his hands. Then he saw it. Nestled beneath a hollowed log, barely visible under a pile of leaves, a tiny bundle. Covered in mud, shivering. It was a puppy. Tiny. Soaked. Terrified. Jake's breath caught. He crouched low, holding out his hand. "Hey there, buddy, it's okay. I won't hurt you." The pup flinched but didn't run. Its ribs were visible beneath its soaked fur. One leg looked twisted. Its whimpering was constant, soft and heartbreaking. Jake's eyes burned. "Who left you out here?" He gently lifted the trembling creature. It weighed almost nothing. He looked around. No mother. No signs of a litter. Just silence. And that heavy, eerie feeling of abandonment. Jake pulled off his jacket and wrapped the puppy inside. He cradled it close, feeling its rapid heartbeat against his chest. "You're coming with me." The walk back felt longer. The forest was no longer mysterious. It was threatening. Each branch looked like it might claw at the tiny life he held. The wind felt colder. When he finally broke through the tree line and reached his truck, Jake turned up the heater and laid the puppy gently on the passenger seat. "Hang in there," he said softly. "I've got you now." The vet clinic was quiet. Saturday mornings usually were. Dr. Lily Hammond was finishing up with a tabby cat when Jake burst through the door, cradling the jacket like it held treasure. "Emergency," he said, breathless. Lily raised her eyebrows. "What happened?" Jake unwrapped the puppy. Lily's face fell. "Oh no. This poor thing." She moved quickly. "Bring him in. Let's see what we're dealing with." Inside the exam room, the fluorescent lights felt too harsh. The puppy whimpered as Lily examined its frail body. "He's malnourished. Dehydrated. Looks like he's been out there for days. That leg might be broken." Jake swallowed hard. "Can you save him?" Lily looked up, her expression softening. "I can try, but it won't be easy." Jake nodded. "Do it, please." An hour later, Jake sat in the waiting room, jacket in his lap, staring at the floor. Images flashed in his mind. Emily smiling, laughing, singing to their old dog Cooper in the kitchen. Losing her had crushed him, and for months he'd felt numb. But that cry in the woods, it had pierced the numbness. It had pulled him back to life. Lily stepped out, wiping her hands. "He's stable for now. We gave him fluids and set the leg. We'll need to monitor him for a few days, but he's a fighter." Jake let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "Thank you." Lily smiled. "Does he have a name?" Jake hesitated, then chuckled softly. "Miracle. His name is Miracle." Narrator, gentle fade out. But that was only the beginning. Because Jake hadn't just found a puppy that day. He found purpose. He just didn't know it yet. End of section 1. Title: He Heard a Cry in the Woods and found a miracle. Section 2. Healing two broken souls. Soft fade in music, emotionally uplifting tone begins. Narrator. Miracle was safe, but far from healed. And as the little pup fought to survive, something inside Jake began to stir. This wasn't just about saving a life anymore. It was about rebuilding two broken souls. Together. 3 days passed. Jake visited the clinic every morning and evening, like clockwork. Miracle was still weak, barely lifting his head, but each time Jake walked in, the little tail gave a faint wag. He knows you, Lily smiled, wrapping a fresh bandage around the pup's leg. He's bonding. That's a very good sign. Jake sat beside the table, gently stroking Miracle's ears. I can't stop thinking about what would have happened if I hadn't heard him. Lily paused. Maybe you were meant to hear him. Jake didn't reply. He just nodded, eyes never leaving the pup. On the 5th day, Lily gave the green light. Miracle could go home. He needs rest, love, and a lot of patience, she instructed, handing over a small bag of meds and special food. Jake looked down at the now alert pup in the blanket-lined crate. He'll get all of it. I promise. Back at Jake's house, things were quiet. Too quiet. Miracle explored slowly, sniffing furniture and bumping into corners. Jake watched him from the couch, the same way he once watched over Emily when she was recovering from chemo. The memories hurt, but somehow, Miracle's presence made the silence less suffocating. That night, Jake set up a soft bed beside his own. But by midnight, a soft whimper reached his ears. Jake turned to see Miracle at the edge of the bed, staring up with wide, pleading eyes. Jake chuckled. All right, come on. He lifted him gently onto the bed. The puppy curled against his chest, let out a tired sigh, and finally slept without whimpering. For the first time in months, Jake slept peacefully too. Days turned to weeks. Miracle gained strength. He learned to limp run on his mended leg, chased leaves in the yard, barked at birds, and found joy in small things. A squeaky toy, a warm blanket, Jake's sock. Jake found himself smiling more, talking more, laughing. One afternoon, while Miracle napped in a sunbeam, Jake sat at the kitchen table, sorting through a box of old photos. He pulled out a picture of Emily holding Cooper, their golden retriever. She had the same softness in her eyes that Miracle did. He whispered, You'd love him, Em. He saved me. Tears welled up, but for once they weren't just from grief. They were gratitude. Word spread in the small town. People began stopping Jake on his morning jogs, noticing the little pup trotting proudly beside him. Is that the Miracle dog? One woman asked. Jake smiled. Yep, that's his name too. Miracle. Soon Miracle had fans. Children asked to pet him. The elderly couple next door brought him homemade treats. Jake found himself reconnecting with people. And slowly, he started to feel something that had long eluded him. Hope. But not everything was easy. One rainy night, a storm rolled in. Thunder cracked the sky, and Miracle cowered under the table, shaking. Jake tried to coax him out. Hey, buddy, it's okay. You're safe. It's just noise. Miracle wouldn't move. Jake sat down beside him. You've been through worse, haven't you? He stayed there for an hour, hand gently resting on Miracle's back until the storm passed. They both carried scars. Not all were visible. The next morning, Jake woke to find Miracle sitting by the door, leash in his mouth. Jake blinked. You want to go back out there? Miracle gave a tiny, determined bark. They returned to the woods. Jake parked the truck in the same spot. The trees looked taller now, darker somehow. He followed Miracle as the pup led him down the same path, limping but confident. When they reached the hollow log, Miracle paused. He sniffed the ground, then looked up at Jake. Jake knelt beside him. This is where it started, huh? Miracle wagged his tail. Jake whispered, I'm glad I found you. No, I think you found me. He looked around, the wind rustling the leaves. And for the first time, the forest didn't feel haunted by grief. It felt like home. Narrator, gentle fade. But fate wasn't finished with them yet. Because one day, a shadow from Miracle's past would return, bringing with it a question Jake never thought he'd have to face. End of section 2. Title: He heard a cry in the woods and found a miracle. Section 3. The return and the choice. Narrator, gentle, contemplative tone. Jake thought the worst was behind them, that Miracle's journey had reached a peaceful ending. But sometimes, the past doesn't stay buried. And the most painful miracles are the ones that test your heart. It was a quiet Thursday afternoon when the knock came. Jake opened the door to find a woman standing there. Mid-30s, sharp jacket, clipboard in hand. Her eyes flicked past him to the living room, where Miracle dozed on the rug. "Mr. Reynolds? I'm from Bay County Animal Control. May I come in?" Jake frowned but stepped aside. "Is something wrong?" She walked in, professional and cautious. "We recently received an anonymous tip. A woman claims her lost puppy might be in your care. Said he went missing over a month ago near these woods." Jake's chest tightened. "That dog was abandoned. Starving. Broken. I found him near death." She nodded. "I believe you. But we have to investigate." The woman submitted photos. She pulled out a worn print. A chubby puppy, not quite the Miracle Jake knew. But the markings, the little white patch on the forehead, the black-tipped ear, were identical. Jake felt like the ground had shifted. That night, he sat on the floor beside Miracle, the photo in his hand. "Did someone love you before? Did they lose you or leave you?" Miracle nudged his face into Jake's hand, letting out a soft sigh. Jake had so many questions, but answers weren't what he needed. 2 days later, the woman arrived. Her name was Teresa. She claimed Miracle, or Rico, as she called him, had escaped during a storm. He was just a baby. "I searched for days. Put up flyers. Nothing." Jake studied her. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were distant. When Miracle was brought into the room, he didn't run to her. He didn't bark. He stayed by Jake's side. "Rico," Teresa called softly, kneeling. Miracle looked at her, then back at Jake. Jake swallowed hard. "He doesn't seem to remember you." Teresa stood up, brushing invisible dust off her jeans. "Maybe he forgot, or maybe he's changed. But he was mine first. Legally, he still is." Jake's heart dropped. He nearly died out there. "I saved him. I loved him back to life. I'm not saying you didn't, but I want my dog back." A court date was set. Jake sat with Lily at the kitchen table, the legal notice between them. "You have a case," she said. "You have vet records, witnesses. Pictures of the condition you found him in." Jake rubbed his eyes. "It shouldn't be about evidence. It should be about what Miracle needs." Lily nodded. "Then fight for him. Because he's not just a pet. He's your family." The day of the hearing, Jake brought Miracle on a leash, though the pup walked so close he might as well have been glued to Jake's side. Inside the small courtroom, the judge reviewed both testimonies. Teresa spoke first. "I lost him in a storm. I thought he was gone, but I never stopped hoping." Jake stood, voice steady. "When I found him, he was hours from death. I nursed him back. I didn't just adopt a dog. I healed with him. We saved each other." The judge asked for final statements. Jake looked at Miracle, then at Teresa. "I don't want to take anything from anyone, but he's not the same scared pup in that photo. He became Miracle because he brought life back into mine. All I ask is that you let him stay with the one person who never gave up on him." The courtroom was silent. Miracle let out a quiet, contented woof. The judge smiled faintly. "Dogs can't speak. But sometimes they still tell us everything." She tapped her gavel. "Custody remains with Mr. Reynolds. Case closed." Outside, Teresa approached quietly. "You love him. I see that. Maybe he was meant to find you." Jake nodded. "Maybe we were meant to find each other." Weeks passed. The story spread. Jake and Miracle were invited to speak at shelters, schools, even local news. They became a symbol of hope. The man who saved a dog, and the dog who saved a man. Jake started volunteering at the animal rescue. He spoke to grieving pet owners, lonely kids, veterans. He shared Miracle's story not as a hero, but as someone who once felt lost too. And one spring morning, while sitting on a bench outside the rescue center, a little boy with tear-streaked cheeks whispered, "I want a miracle too." Jake knelt down and smiled. Sometimes the best miracles come when you least expect them. Narrator, warm, emotional fade. He heard a cry in the woods that day. But he didn't just find a puppy. He found a companion, a lifeline, a reason to keep going. Sometimes the smallest lives carry the biggest messages. You are not alone. You are still needed. You are still loved. ***. End of story.